Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. Well, the Hinman emails have been released, and it is confirmed that ETHgate and the free pass are very real. We're going to hear from Stuart Alderati. We're going to hear from Brad Garlinghouse and Charles Gasparino. Oh, my God, and so much more. Somebody just rolled that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content right now. $1.1 trillion market cap for crypto. We're up 0.6%. Bitcoin, 25,900 plus, 1738 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap is exploding at 83.5 billion plus right now. The market doesn't know where to go, so they're hiding in Tether, but that may not be the best place. XRP is 53 cents. We're up 2.4% on the 24-hour and 4.8 on the 7-day, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to love what we got for you. And before we get started, I want to tell you there is a limited time offer for a free trial to get inside of this group. We know that the markets are just changing every single second of the day. You can't keep up with everything, so we've created the learning curve you're looking for. This is it right here. Whether you want investor checklists, portfolio creation, private groups and lessons, a supportive community that does critical thinking to a level you just wouldn't believe. This is the time when real wealth is made. Take advantage of the special offer, one-time investment or monthly, whatever you choose to do. Trust me, whatever you are today, you will be better on the other side for being inside of this group. Everyone in here is focused on how to create wealth, manage it, and protect it. No doubt about it. And if that's something that interests you, click the link underneath the video and join the Digital Perspectives Mastermind Group, DPMG. It's like nothing else. Oh boy, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It starts right now. I tell you, Gary Gensler puts out a thing. It says, today is the last day to submit comments on the SEC's government proposal. One of the proposals is expanding, updating regulation systems, compliance, and integrity. And I'm pretty damn sure that if anyone's going to work on expanding and updating regulation systems for compliance and integrity, it should not be you, Gary Gensler, or anyone inside the SEC. In fact, if either one of you had any integrity, you'd leave your badge at the front desk and resign. You are about to see some really damning things, ladies and gentlemen. And here is back in 2020 of December, right around when the case was dropping against Ripple and XRP. It was Vitalik Buterin who was absolutely definitively on the phone with William Hinman and other people and officials inside the SEC, teaching them how to give the Ethereum protocol a free pass. And I'm reminded here because Vitalik, when all of that was happening to us, took shots at us, knowing that he had an inside track into the SEC. Looks like Ripple XRP team is sinking to new levels of strangeness, he says. They're claiming that their crap coin should not be called a security for public policy reasons, namely because Bitcoin and Ethereum are Chinese controlled. Well, let me tell you something. Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe they aren't Chinese controlled. But I'll tell you this, Ethereum definitely got a free pass from William Hinman and other SEC officials inside of that agency, and that is despicable. And what I'm reminded of is the book called Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, where they blame others for doing exactly the corrupt thing that they accused us of doing. That's what they were doing the entire time. They were working and colluding and manipulating a market. The Hinman test is the way it's referred to in the email thread. And I tell you, there is no such thing as a Hinman test. The Howey test went to the Supreme Court. The Reeves test went to the Supreme Court. They all have to go to the Supreme Court in order to become a test. So the Hinman test that they were referring to inside of these Hinman emails that were released is nothing more than a contribution to market manipulation and possibly collusion. This is a video that was put out by Stuart Alderati here. Shout out to Ripple. He said it's been 5 years since Bill Hinman gave his infamous speech And through the SEC lawsuit against Ripple and 7 court orders, we can finally share what happened behind the scenes through the now public emails, drafts of the speech itself. And this is created by Ripple.
On June 14th,
And shout out to Ripple for creating this and paying homage, I believe, to crypto law by making this video in the same style and format that crypto law has done so many times for all of us. I tell you, Stuart Alderati, Brad Garlinghouse, everybody at Ripple, what a class act. Take a listen.
2018, then SEC Director of Corporation Finance William Hinman gave a high-profile speech where he declared that a token is not a security when it becomes, quote, sufficiently decentralized. But internal emails and documents show that senior SEC officials repeatedly warned Hinman that his speech wasn't true to the law and would greatly confuse the markets even more than they already were. Now, after more than 2 years and 7 court orders, we can finally share some of what we found in the Hinman speech documents.
Here we go.
The SEC head of trading and markets warned Hinman that he was making up factors that, quote, go beyond the typical Howey analysis, as in not in the law, and that the speech could lead to not just confusion, but greater confusion on what is a security. Hinman ignored him.
If the network on which the token or coin is to function is sufficiently decentralized, and the purchasers no longer have a reasonable expectation that a person or a group is going to carry out essential managerial or entrepreneurial efforts, those assets might not represent an investment contract.
The same official told Hinman he should tie his speech, quote, more closely and explicitly to the Howey analysis. Hinman not only ignored him, but deliberately created factors beyond those identified by the Supreme Court in the Howey case.
I wanted to just note a few things. This list is not meant to be exhaustive, but these are things that we look at.
The SEC's own general counsel warned specifically that it's legally irrelevant if someone retains a stake in a token and is motivated to take action to increase its value, and that Hinman should delete it from the speech. And once again, Hinman ignored them and said without any legal support that it was important to ask.
Has that person or group retained a stake or other interest in the digital asset such that it would be motivated to expend efforts to cause an increase in the value of the digital asset?
Both Trading and Markets and the General Counsel also disagreed with Hinman's belief that if a network was sufficiently decentralized, information asymmetries would no longer exist, noting that a network creator would likely have more information than a retail holder, using Vitalik Buterin as an example. They warned Hinman that by creating this, quote, other category and focusing on information asymmetries, he was exposing a regulatory gap that the SEC may not have the jurisdiction to fill. Again, Hinman ignored them.
As the network becomes more truly decentralized, the ability to identify a promoter or to make the requisite, and someone that could actually make the requisite disclosures becomes in many cases difficult or and perhaps much less meaningful.
On June 4th, Hinman wrote that he didn't see a, quote, need to regulate Ether as a security, and set up a call with Ethereum's co-founder Vitalik Buterin later that week to, quote, confirm our understanding. On June 11th, the SEC's own general counsel advised against including any direct statement about Ether in the speech because it would be difficult for the SEC to, quote, take a different position on Ether in the future. The next day, Trading and Markets wrote that the statements about Ether were, quote, likely to create more confusion. Hinman ignored all of them and decided to make headlines, picking winners and losers instead.
Moreover, putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, its decentralized structure, we believe current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions.
The emails show that Hinman knew he wasn't following the law. He knew he was making things up, and he knew that his speech would result in greater confusion in an already confused market. But Hinman went ahead with the speech anyway, and the SEC, despite knowing all this, touted the speech repeatedly. The SEC chairman himself pointed market participants to the speech.
Bill Hinman recently outlined the approach we take to evaluate whether a digital asset is a security, and I encourage you to take a look at Bill's speech, which is available on our website.
The SEC knew the speech didn't follow the law. The SEC knew the speech would create greater confusion, and the SEC knew Hinman was making things up. So why is the Hinman speech still on the SEC's website? Why was it ever allowed to be given at all? And why has the SEC pushed a policy of regulation by enforcement, falsely insisting the rules are clear?
And there you have it. Stuart Alderati goes on to say, we now can all see Hinman ignore multiple warnings that his speech contained made-up analysis with no basis in law, was divorced from the Howey factors, exposed regulatory gaps, and would create not just confusion, but greater confusion in the market. A refresher, Hinman, as a head of SEC's corporate finance, gave a speech in 2018 declaring that the token is not a security once it becomes sufficiently decentralized, and he invented factors to consider when making a sufficiently decentralized determination. He invented the factors. Although Hinman claimed that the speech was his personal view and he and the SEC touted it as guidance, then SEC Chair Jay Clayton publicly pointed to it despite the SEC's repeatedly flip-flopping on the significance of the speech during litigation. It remains on the agency's website today. And here he says, now look at what senior SEC officials directly said to Hinman about his speech, and he was drafting it. As he was drafting it, heading trading markets told him, because the list of factors is so extensive and appears to include things that go beyond the typical Howey analysis, we have concerns that this might create greater confusion. What is a security? Hinman ignored all of those concerns, directly asked Hinman to tie his newly invented factors more closely and explicitly to the Howey analysis. And again, Hinman ignored the suggestions. You get this. Office of General Counsel here, and TM called this factor legally irrelevant. Has this person or group retained a stake or other interest in the digital asset such that it would be motivated to expend efforts to cause an increase in value in the digital asset? Hinman kept it. It is despicable what's going on here. We've absolutely been validated here. And ask yourself, Digital Asset Investor says this, shout out to him, who broke this open? How much of that $200 million Ripple spent was wasted on proving Bill Hinman and the SEC were lying about the ETH free pass speech? Who pays them back? I ask on top of that, how far would Ripple growth in this space really be today if they could have used that $200 million for development? How much U.S. adoption would we have today if it wasn't for a targeted court case by the SEC here? Then we have this. Charles Gasparino says, fascinating stuff in reply to Stuart Alderati and Ripple video here, highlighting the facts. He goes on to say, Charles Gasparino says, I know the knee-jerk reaction from the XRP community will be this proves a fraud. It doesn't, he says. It does prove Hester Peirce's argument we need safe harbor in crypto. We need to stop regulation by enforcement, and Congress needs to see digital coin ground rules now. Let me tell you what else it tells me, Charles. It tells me that you probably eat dinner with Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton. What kind of horse shit nonsense is this? Brad Garlinghouse says here in response to this, I wouldn't use the fraud word. I'm not a lawyer and I don't know the precise legal threshold, but I think we can all agree that our government should act with integrity. The SEC, despite the industry asking for clarity, is actively approaching crypto in bad faith. Then Charles says, I don't know about bad faith. These are bureaucrats working in a bureaucracy trying to regulate something totally foreign to its mission. Congress needs to step in ASAP. Foreign to its mission? Are you kidding me right now? Take a look at this. Brad answers back here. Brad Garlinghouse says, foreign to its mission. Their mission literally starts with protect investors. How is that happening here? It's absolutely bad faith, evidenced by the fact that the exact investors they purport to protect are trying to sue them. Tag John Deaton. I said, oh, Charles Gasparino. Even the judge in the SEC versus Ripple case said on record that the SEC was acting in unfaithful allegiance to the law. Don't try and recraft a narrative the SEC has worked so hard to hide. Despicable, Charles. Feel the way you want to feel, but it doesn't make you any closer to being right about it. I said here to add to the point, knee-jerk reaction of the XRP holders or not, what is absolutely clear is this. Every test that is used in the SEC or otherwise, Howey tests, Reeves tests are determined not by William Hinman, not by the SEC, but by the Supreme Court of the United States rulings. The Hinman test, which it was referred to in the Hinman email documents we are now seeing, appear to be nothing more than a good old-fashioned market manipulation and potentially collusion. We can agree to disagree, Charles, but you're on an island by yourself there, fella. And here he is here. I tell you, this is unbelievable what we're watching. And to add to this, Brad Garlinghouse comes in and says it's absolutely unconscionable that a regulator, when presented with so much pushback on what he was about to say, how he compiled this fake test in the first place. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what this was, a fake test. There is no test unless it went to the Supreme Court. You now understand the confidence of Brad Garlinghouse. You now understand the confidence of Stuart Alderati. Decided to move forward anyway is what Hinman decided to do, and throw an entire industry into chaos, which is exactly what they did. For the SEC to sue Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse personally for allegedly selling unregistered securities when their own division head deliberately created confusion about this, well, I don't have a single polite word to describe this deplorable, politically motivated overreach. Well said, Brad Garlinghouse. Seeing the depth to which the SEC has essentially weaponized the lack of regulatory clarity through enforcement actions since this speech was given, it's no surprise that we can call bluff on their claims to just come in and register as nothing but bad faith. And that's exactly right, man. No doubt about it. Shout out to Brad Garlinghouse. And he is asked here in this remark, he is asked, could this tweet be Brad Garlinghouse actually be referring to a settlement and not about the Hinman emails? Please read carefully. The tweet reads here, wish I could go into depth into being asked about the emails, but we've waited this long, 18 months. I don't want to overstep. Suffice it to say, Stuart Alderati and I believe they were well worth the wait, talking about the emails. And he answers back, no. There is no settlement, ladies and gentlemen, and nor should there be. You see what's going on here. This is absolutely despicable of the SEC, and they've known it. And instead of them calling out and pursuing an investigation against William Hinman and everybody in the chain of those emails and their actions, no, they covered it up. And they fought for over 2 years and caused another company to spend $200 million so we wouldn't get to see it. That's what we've witnessed. This isn't over by a long shot, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.